Good morning. Is everyone well? Yeah? That's all right. I'll look for a thumbs up. Yeah. The Palaszczuk government's Queensland Energy and Jobs Plan is all about achieving our renewable energy targets, but making sure we do so while creating the maximum benefit for Queenslanders possible in terms of investment and jobs. We will achieve 70% renewable energy by 2032, but to do that, storage will be absolutely critical. We've announced that our two big pumped hydro projects will deliver the deep storage that Queensland will need, but batteries will be absolutely critical too. We already have one of the world's highest uptakes of rooftop solar. In fact, here in Wide Bay, it's amongst the highest in the world. But we also have some of the world's biggest solar and wind projects either in commissioning, in planning, or under construction. And we already have batteries deployed across our network to ensure that we can capture those peaks of energy, particularly during the day, and deliver them when demand requires it. So, for example, in Bargara, the community battery there is already capturing that cheap, renewable energy off those rooftops and keeping it there for the evening peak. That's a 4 megawatt, 8 megawatt hour battery. And soon in March, we will turn on a similar size battery in Torquay. But we don't just want to be installing those batteries across our grid, we want to be making them here too. And we are already proving that we can. Here in Maryborough, ESI have their $70 million iron flow battery manufacturing facility already under construction. So it's real. And by 2026, 500 highly skilled locals will work here at this battery factory, building the batteries that we will need here in Queensland, around the country and around the world, making them here in Queensland and using critical minerals mined from here in Queensland. And we want to see more projects like ESI's fantastic project here in Maryborough. So today we're announcing that we have issued a battery industry discussion paper. We're calling on stakeholders and industry to tell us what they need to make more of the batteries that we need here in Queensland, making them here in Queensland using Queensland workers and Queensland products. What are the settings and supports that industry will need to see more projects like this one? We will achieve our targets, but we are determined to also realise all of the other benefits from our Queensland Energy and Jobs Plan, particularly local investment, skills, expertise and jobs. There's no greater champion of those things for the Maryborough area than Bruce Saunders.
Thanks, Acting Premier, Deputy Premier Stephen Miles. Look, it's great to be here today with Stuart from ESI, also for the Mayor, the Acting Premier. This is great news for the Maryborough community. This is fantastic news for Queensland with the renewable energy. Maryborough has always been a first for a lot of things, and this is a first for our community. I'm proud as the local member to be part of a government, the Palaszczuk Labor government, that is investing in renewable energy right across this state, and these batteries are going to be crucial for us to meet our target. And it's great here that ESI, with Stuart Parry, that they've got faith in our community. Not only that, they're giving our younger people and our people a career path, and this is absolutely fantastic. And this is what a good Labor government does. We're putting investments throughout regional Queensland, creating jobs. So the younger people don't leave our regions. They can stay here. They can be part of this renewable energy phase that's going right through, and the changeover that will happen in our community. And these people, the younger people, they'll have a career path here with ESI. They'll be able to stay in Maryborough, raise a family in Maryborough, send their children to Maryborough and earn a good income. And you know, as the local member from the Maryborough community, and I know I speak on behalf of the community, we welcome ESI with open arms to our community, because they are investing in our community and they're creating local jobs in our community, and they're also doing great things with the renewable energy sector in this state. And it's really happy days for us to have ESI in Maryborough.
Perfect. A little bit tall for here today. Thanks very much, Bruce. Thank you very much, Acting Premier. it's a pleasure to be here again as we move forward with this site. We congratulate the Palaszczuk government and their leadership in developing this battery strategy. We've been involved, as all the other proponents here in Queensland are looking to develop batteries. There are a lot of us here, and we're very proud to call Queensland our home, and we're committed to supporting not only the development of the batteries but also the ancillary support. There's everything from critical minerals, cell manufacture, pack manufacturing and assembly and deployment where Queensland can participate, and we congratulate the government on supporting that, because if we can continue to keep jobs here but also support the energy transition, it's also going to support the state. Thanks to Bruce also for his support, enduring support here. We felt very, very welcome in the community, and we're very, very excited to be continuing working here. Also to George and the Fraser Coast Council. Fraser Coast Council have been diligently working, putting new roads in. It's been very, very impressive, considering the rain, how fast and effective they have been putting the roads for us to be able to continue working. ESI are building a $70 million battery factory, iron flow redox batteries. These batteries will be able to support Queensland, provide energy when the sun doesn't shine, when it's raining, for example, like today. This is very, very important. We can generate a lot of energy, but we need to store it. And here what we'll do is we'll be able to employ local people. We're working with local companies, and we're also working with the industry. We're proud to be able to manufacture what is effectively the blood, the electrolyte of our batteries up in Townsville. We'll be processing the minerals, and they'll be utilised in the first battery install later on this year here in Queensland. And I think that is at the heart of this strategy. We all need to integrate, as the department quite rightly said, collaboration with purpose. We're all working towards that 70% renewable energy target, and I feel that Queensland is set for that. Thank you.
Thank you. It's great to have the Acting Premier here on the site of ESI's Iron Flow battery factory, now under construction. Maryborough has a proud manufacturing history, but for a while it didn't look like we had a strong future in manufacturing. That all changed in 2015 with the election of Bruce Saunders as the member for Maryborough and the Palaszczuk government. Since that time, we have seen national and international companies set up here, whether it's Naya Rheinmetall Munitions Factory, new technologies being supported like glue laminate timber for old companies like Hein Timber, and here a battery factory which will be absolutely essential for Australia's clean energy future. So I want to thank ESI for the confidence they're showing in our community and the undying commitment of the state government, Bruce Saunders, the Acting Premier Stephen Miles, in Maryborough as a manufacturing powerhouse. It's our history and it's our future.
Very good. Happy to take questions.
Can we go back to the discussion paper? What does it involve and how will it support our manufacturing?
We want to know how we can support more projects like this one. So we've facilitated this project in all sorts of different ways through getting utilities and services to land, provision of land, easements, roads, in conjunction with the council, and some support from state government funding. So that's an example of how we've been able to support this project. The discussion paper is all about finding out what else we need to do. What are the opportunities for Queensland and how do we access those? We know there are investors right now looking at our $62 billion plan and seeing that that's a lot of opportunity to sell things. But we want them to make them here. We want to buy them made here. We've allocated out of that $62 billion, $500 million for our government-owned corporations, our state-owned electricity assets, to purchase community batteries and install them throughout the state. So how do we make sure that they have Queensland-made batteries that they can buy? That's the purpose of the discussion paper. So we can see more factories like this one in Maryborough dotted all over the state.
How can industry provide feedback?
So there's a process in the discussion paper for industry to provide feedback. As Stuart said, we've already been engaging very closely. I think we've provided until March for that feedback. So the industry has a few months now to see the kind of key questions that we're asking ourselves and provide that kind of feedback to us. Is that everything on batteries?
Well, Stuart, I guess how would that discussion paper help you achieving providing feedback as well?
Yeah, definitely. Of course, we've been actively involved in the development of this strategy and the discussion paper. I think it'll be important to support for the industry to be able to just provide that feedback to adapt and improve. There's a few things from when I read it over the weekend that I think could be adapted and changed. However, it gives, because realistically the energy transition isn't just us. It's not just lithium. It is a group. It's going to be a potpourri of different technologies, a lot of different chemistries. So therefore, we require everyone, we need everyone to be involved in this to be able to deliver on not only energy transition requirements for here, for the state, for Queensland, but also for Australia. So therefore, for us, if we can guide to show where we need, say, for example, transport, how are we going to move our equipment down to New South Wales, but then also right up to the critical minerals. Like, while we use iron, some of the other battery technologies need critical minerals and need that support. And then right through to the wonderful research that University of Queensland and QUT are doing to further develop the next stage. I think if we can support those next stage technologies, what that's going to do is support a greater depth of a cluster, really, of battery manufacturing.
Very good.
I might just comment on the weather around Mackay first, if that's okay. So today, in terms of the rainfall event in central and northern Queensland, looks much like yesterday did. So we're seeing that heavy rainfall centred around Mackay, but north to Ayr and south to Camilla. So we'll continue to see more high levels of rainfall on what is already a very, very wet catchment. It was wet before this rain event, and some areas have seen up to 373 millimetres of rain across a 6-hour period. We'll continue to see that kind of localised, very high rainfall. In most cases above 100 millimetres, in some cases 180 to 200 millimetres across those 6 hours, and the forecast is for that to continue through the next few days. The main impact of that on people has been vehicles and passengers stranded in between sections of road that are flooded and closed. And so our LDMGs and police have been working with those folk to get them to where they need to go as quickly as possible. What we expect, of course, today, as people start to return from holidays and return from the weekend, there'll be more people trying to travel around. So if you're in that area, please look out for warnings. Of course, do everything that's asked, and if the road's closed, if it's flooded, forget it. We also have a wider area where there is a active thunderstorm warning, as well as monsoonal rains through the north and Cape of the state. So wherever you are, particularly in central and northern Queensland, please look out for those warnings.
Has there been any reports of widespread flooding or damage yet?
Flash flooding and localised road closures, but no property losses and no loss of life. A small number of swiftwater rescues, and as I say, folks stranded in between closed sections of road. There was a group that stayed at the PCYC in Bowen because there wasn't accommodation available in Bowen.
Those who are stranded, what's your message to them today?
The LDMGs and local councils are doing a fantastic job of managing local events. In fact, we haven't had any incidents significant enough to have to escalate to the state disaster program. So they're working hard and will be available to support people who are stranded. Our main message is if you're in areas where roads are prone to flooding and it's been raining, please look out for those warning messages. If you don't need to travel, perhaps avoid it, but certainly if the road's closed, forget it.
On the swimming review, I guess, what will the review of the program entail?
So what we've asked is for Education Queensland to go school by school and look at what swimming lessons are available at each and every school and determine if they can be improved, if they can be made more accessible or more affordable. So that's a very granular assessment. What we've said is that overall the swimming program is very good at ensuring every state school primary student has access to swimming lessons, but every school is different, every school community is different. Access to pools and coaches vary school to school, and so by auditing this at that school level, we'll be able to determine where there are gaps and fill those gaps if necessary.
Do we know how long that review might take?
We're anticipating it'll be completed by the end of February, so we'll be working very quickly with principals and school communities to assess how they currently deliver swimming lessons and what improvements they might like to make. If the audit finds gaps, then we will take steps to address those gaps. Of course, the first step is this audit, which will go school to school and make sure that every Queensland primary school student has sufficient access to swimming lessons.
On youth crime, Toowoomba over the weekend, multiple ratings are stolen by youth. Residents say it's out of control. Your comments?
Look, I understand the police in Toowoomba worked very hard over the weekend to apprehend 3 suspected offenders. Those 3 suspected offenders are suspected by police of committing a large number of offences. They will now be dealt with by the courts, and it's not possible for me to comment further on those individual circumstances. But I can say that the police in Toowoomba have done a very good job of apprehending them quickly. Our job as the government is all about making sure the police have the tools and resources they need to apprehend offenders. And thanks to the steps that we have taken to put additional police on the beat, there are now 150 extra police in the region that encompasses Toowoomba to ensure that when crimes occur, there is sufficient police resourcing to apprehend those offenders, and that's what we've seen this weekend.
And just a health in Gladstone now, new doctors have been hired for Central Queensland Hospital and Health Service, they're obstetricians. When will they start, and will any of them be based in Gladstone?
So I understand that the start of those new obstetricians will be staggered based on their availability, existing jobs, having to move house, that kind of thing. The decision about the allocation of individual doctors to individual hospitals, that rests with the Central Queensland Hospital and Health Service. But I want to say this about maternity services in Gladstone. Nobody thinks it's acceptable that a town like Gladstone does not have a sufficient range of maternity services. And so I've asked the Health Minister to convene a meeting for me this afternoon with the Queensland Health Director General so that we can assess all of the steps that have been undertaken to return sufficient maternity services to Gladstone and to see if there is any additional support that Queensland Health can provide to the hospital and health service so that they can bolster those services. Everybody wants to see Queensland women, particularly in larger towns like Gladstone, everybody wants to see them able to access the health services they need. We also understand, though, that the first and most important priority in delivering those services is the safety of those mums and their children. And so the services need to be delivered safely. They need a safe level of staffing. I've asked for that meeting so that we can be assured that no stone has been left unturned to improve the services available in Gladstone.
So following that meeting, you might have a better idea whether any of those doctors can be transferred to Gladstone?
Well, we'll certainly be asking what the plan is for those 4 doctors, but also what the longer term plan is for continuing to improve maternity services in Gladstone.
And just on youth crime in CQ, it continues to spiral. Yesterday, kids evaded police for almost an entire day in 2 stolen photos. I guess what is being done by the government to curb this behaviour in CQ?
As I said, we have continued to increase the number of police on the ground, including in the Central Queensland region. So that's about making sure police have the officers that they need to catch criminals and prevent crime. So we'll continue to do that. There's hundreds more police on the ground right across the state, in fact more than 1,000 more across the state, and I don't have to hand the figure for Central Queensland. I think it's roughly at 130 additional police that would not be there if our government was not elected last time. The Premier announced just a couple of weeks ago the additional tools that we will give to the police and the courts to make sure that when offenders are caught, that they receive appropriate sentences and that programs are available to them to ensure that they do not reoffend. But we continue to support police and provide to them the resources and tools that they tell us they need to fight crime in Queensland.
The President announced major changes to the scale here in Queensland. Why are we waiting for them to be implemented?
Oh, some of them can be implemented immediately. Some of them require changes to the law, and we've said we'll introduce them to the first sitting of Parliament. And then others require changes to court processes, funding arrangements, that kind of thing. We have a team, an implementation team, working right now across all of those 10 new initiatives to determine exactly how they can be implemented as quickly as possible.
Finally,
Well, as I said, last time they made this ridiculous call, David Christofouli has no credibility when it comes to demanding that things happen sooner. He's been Leader of the Opposition for more than 2 years. He's had ample opportunity to move whatever changes to the law he thought were required, and they've consistently failed to do so. Those laws will be ready for the first sitting of Parliament in February, and we look forward to their support.
Just back to Gladstone maternity ward, doctors are calling on an emergency summit into the maternity issues in the state. Will you hear these calls?
Well, that's one of the options we will consider, and I'll seek advice about whether that will be useful. But please let me have this chance to have a meeting with the Health Minister and the Director General to see exactly what they think is the most useful next step. If, as I said yesterday, a roundtable won't create new obstetricians for us. So we want to see what the plans are and how we might be able to better support the HHS to do even more.
Why has it taken this long to have this meeting? These issues have been raised for quite a number of months now.
Look, none of those issues are ever set and forget. None of them are ever fixed forever. They are a constant drive to deliver more and better health services, to attract more health professionals to Queensland Health, and so we'll continue to do that. It's never the case that we're done and the problem is solved. We want to keep working to do better.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. We have wet pitches.